wasn't funny anymore. He's no longer on my board, so apparently doesn't have to laugh at my jokes. Well, let's get down to business. I'm Jerry DeShane. Good morning, everybody. I'm the executive director of the league. You heard that little voice that said the meeting is now being recorded. We will be recording this meeting right up to the question and answer period. Now, when we get to Q&A, we're going to stop recording because that's probably not going to be useful to people that will come in later. Our purpose today is we have a guest, Nick Forster from the Department of Revenue, to talk about innovation planning grants. This is going to be a high-level background discussion. We will be providing you with a tremendous amount of information in that chat, so you might want to save the chat to preserve some of those links. But I think a lot of you recognize why this all matters. As you know, part of the whole Act 12 achievement that the legislature, the governor, the league, the towns association, the counties association, everyone recognized the need to reinvest in local government. And I'm very pleased that the state did that to the tune of an entire penny of the sales tax. But I'm also intrigued that they set aside $300 million for innovation fund ideas. And that's where we're here today, is to talk about innovation planning grants. And Nick is going to describe what those are, and he's going to answer your questions. My job is to just sort of set the stage, but I'm not sure how much stage setting I need. You all know you're dealing with levy limits, you're dealing with flat populations, declining populations, aging populations, changing populations, inflation, the whole nine yards. We've got to change how we do things where we can. And I think it's fair to say that that's the whole purpose of why the legislature set aside this money, to give us an opportunity, give us a little bit of an incentive for new ways of looking at transfers of service. And I do have to emphasize that we're talking transfers of service for innovation planning grants. So our intention today is to help you come up with a good planning grant application. Nick is going to talk about what would constitute a good application, who good partners would be, or who can give you the expertise and the resources you need to put an application together. So with that, Nick, I think I've bumbled and stumbled through the introductory part of this, and now the reason they're here is to hear from you and to talk about what these planning grants are for and how they can get one. So I'm going to hand it
Sure.
off to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jerry. And I just want to thank all of you for attending the webinar. This is a collaborative effort from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, the Wisconsin Towns Association, and the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. So before I begin, I do want to mention that in the chat, I entered in a number of resources on the innovation grant and the innovation planning grant that we would recommend that all local government officials take a look at so that they can familiarize themselves with the content. So we're going to be talking specifically about the innovation planning grant because that's the application period that we're in right now. So as a part of Wisconsin Act 12, which was passed in 2023, there was two grants that were passed. There is the innovation grant, which is that larger 300 million grant that Jerry mentioned. And then there's the innovation planning grant, which is a grant to plan for putting together an innovation plan for that grant. So this presentation, I'm hoping, will take maybe about 10 minutes. And then I'd really like to spend the remainder of the time just doing some questions and answers and having a roundtable discussion about the grants. So for myself, my name is Nick Forrester. I'm a supervisor at the Department of Revenue, along with Valia Foy, who is our division administrator. I'm also the project lead on the innovation grants. So feel free to reach out to me and contact me at any time for further information. So today we're going to talk about the innovation planning grant, which is the smaller of the two innovation grants that was passed by Wisconsin Act 12. Just briefly go over what it is, some of the award details, how to apply, and again, have a Q&A time after that. So for the innovation planning grant, all right, first of all, who can apply? This grant which you can apply for now, is for municipalities and tribes with a population not exceeding 5,000 people, which for 90% of Wisconsin municipalities, they would be eligible to apply for this grant. And what is it for? So the Innovation Planning Grant is a grant to plan for a larger innovation grant. And so the grant can be used, according to Wisconsin statute, only for staffing and consultant expenses for the planning, the transfer of one or more of the services or duties listed under statute. So as a big umbrella for all things innovation planning grant. Just remember, this is for staffing consultant expenses so that you can plan to transfer one of these services or duties. The idea of the innovation planning grant was really to put smaller municipalities on the same playing field as the counties or larger municipalities who may not have the staffing or the resources to be able to put together an innovation plan. So the services or duties that are listed under statute are as follows. These would be service categories. Now, there may be some duties within these service categories that you can apply for. And we do have a lot of project examples or project suggestions that are listed on our website. You can see right here for A through C, according to Wisconsin statute, the Department of Revenue must give priority to innovation plans that attempt to realize savings in the categories of police or public safety, including law enforcement, but not including jails, fire protection, or EMS. Now, we consider all of the different categories for the innovation planning grant, but according to statute, we have to give priority to those three. Now, for the innovation planning grant, there is a total of 3 million in available funding for innovation planning grant funding. That's different than what Jerry mentioned, which was the 300 million for the innovation grant. The innovation grant will come later. We're hoping to get that application published July 1st of this year. But right now we're in the innovation planning grant period. So a municipality or tribe may receive up to $100,000 for each approved project plan that they submit for those service categories. Now, the grant process for qualifying municipalities and tribes is that they can apply, actually, it was from November 13th, anytime up until February 28th of 2025 by filing an innovation planning grant application form, which is form SL 400, and a municipal clerk or a approved tribal official can apply for that through their mydor.gov account. Once that application is made, then the Department of Revenue will reach a determination. Reviews of each application will be made to make a determination, and we have auditors here on staff at the Department of Revenue that will review the innovation planning grant applications. And then we plan on making all of the distributions probably through spring of 2025. So how we have structured the application process is that we have it planned in 3 periods. The first period has already been completed, which was November 13th through December 31st. And for each period, we would like to, as our goal, distribute $1 million of that total $3 million. Now, if we don't reach our full $1 million within that period, that funding will just roll over to the next period. So, for example, if we don't reach our funding total for the first period, that'll go down to the second period and potentially to the third, with the goal of distributing all 3 million before or at the February 28th mark. That'll come after that deadline. So how to apply? If you are a municipal clerk, this should be pretty familiar to you. Form SL 400 is very similar to the other forms that you would use. Again, our application period was from November 13th, 2024, all the way up until February 28th of 2025. And as a municipal clerk, you can, or a authorized tribal representative, you can go onto your mydor.gov account, and then you would select this section here for form filing. Once you have done so, you would want to identify and find the Innovation Planning Grant Form SL400 right there, which would be typical of the other forms that you have. And then the first page would be our instruction page, and you would want to read through these instructions. Again, this is very similar to our other forms. We do have some links to our common questions page and any additional information here for helps with our form instructions. We haven't had that many, or I would say even any service calls so far, because the form itself is pretty straightforward, and so there really hasn't been any questions on how to apply for the form, but those are there for you. And then we would go to our Innovation Planning Grant, Section A questions. And so in order to apply for the Innovation Planning Grant, there's going to be basically 5 questions that you need to answer. And some of those questions may have like sub-questions, but the main things that we are looking for from you, and again, these are screenshots right from the mydor.gov accounts for the Form SL400, is first of all, for question 1A, we are looking for an amount that you are requesting. Again, for staffing costs or consultant expenses to plan one of those service transfers. And the number that you enter in this box would have to be $100,000 or lower. And then for question 1B, we need as a required field documentation that would substantiate the amount that you are requesting for an innovation planning grant. Now, what we're looking for that would be perhaps a signed copy of an invoice from a consulting firm that you're working with, or a cost estimate summary from the municipality or the tribal representative that would give a detailed outlined explanation of all of the grant monies that you are requesting so that our auditors could evaluate that. And we've been asked, how detailed do we need to be? And at Department of Revenue, the more detailed, the better. Our auditors do reach out to municipal clerks and tribal officials if they need more clarification or documentation. But the more the better is always helpful for us. And then we would need you to enter in question number 2, a project name, which is usually related to the service transfer that you are planning. Then for question number 3, you would need to select, excuse me, from a drop-down menu, one of these service categories: police, fire, EMS, information technology, parks and rec. Any one of those would be a selectable option. And then also for question number 4, we would ask that you would select the entity type in which you are planning to transfer the service to. Now, that could be, you could be planning a service transfer to a county, to another municipality, a nonprofit organization, another local government, such as a school district, technical college, special district, other entity, even a private entity or business, or to a tribe. And you would have to make a selection for that. And then for question number 5, we're asking that you would enter in 5A a detailed description of the proposed service or transfer. We're looking for a summary. There is a character limitation on this field. So if you have supporting documentation that you can include in 5B, that's helpful for our auditors. You could include a draft plan or a type of project summary of the kind of transfer that you are looking to accomplish, and then you would attach that as an attachment file, and then that would complete section A of the application. To wrap it up, this would be familiar to many municipal clerks. For our prepare signature statement, we're just looking for the prepare information. If you have any optional comments, they're not required, and then a signature statement indicating that you declare that all the forms and applications are true and correct and complete to the best of your knowledge and belief. And that's really it as far as how to apply for an innovation planning grant. I do want to open up our time for discussion and questions. And so, Jerry, yeah, if you want to come back on, and again, for the recording, we'll probably cut the recording off for the question and answer and do a little bit of a roundtable. And I'm certainly available to answer further questions.
Thank you very much, Nick. Great presentation. We are already getting a fair number of questions in the chat. Valia Foy is scrambling to try to answer as many of those as she can, but we will try to get them all in. Before we get started taking questions for Nick, I was supposed to ask you to do a quick poll at the beginning of this presentation. And Andrea, if you could put those questions out there now, there you go. First question, real simple. Are you applying for an innovation planning grant? Yes or no? Yes, no, or I don't know. Um, again, we're not taking attendance here. I'm not keeping track of who said yes, who said no. Just give us your yes, no, or I'm not sure. Um, and am I supposed to do the 3, 2, 1 on that, Andrea?
Sure, that sounds good to me.
Okay. I can't see how many replies we've had, but tell you what, we'll give you about 5 more seconds to click one of those 3 buttons. Are you applying or aren't you? Yes, no, don't know. And then submit that. We'll close that poll in 3, 2, 1. What did we get for results on that, Andrea? So, not surprising, substantial number of you just haven't decided yet. And that is the purpose of this. For those of you that said no, or those of you that are leaning strongly against, can I ask you another question? What is keeping you from pursuing either a planning grant or bigger picture innovation funds? Andrea, we've got a poll question on that too, do we not? So if you said no, tell us why. And this is really on the innovation fund itself, not so much the planning grants as Nick pointed out. And we'll close that poll now in about 5 seconds. It'll be a long 5 seconds. Closing it in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, what do we get for no eligible services to transfer, the cost saving requirement, concern of impact, and just simply don't have enough information. That is good to know because this is, I think Nick and Valia, Tony, everyone would tell you this is very much a work in progress. I don't think any of us really knew how this was going to go. And the more information we can get from you, the better. So let's jump to questions. I was so busy talking that I haven't kept track of which ones have been answered in the chat and which ones have not. I think a good question that was put out there early on is, how do you define transfer? Nick,